Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Yesterday was a good day for Poland. The talks between the United States President Donald Trump and Polish President Andrzej Duda in Washington confirmed that a new order is being created in Europe in which Poland is actively involved, in cooperation with the United States. It is also worth emphasising the unique atmosphere that prevailed during the Polish President's visit to the White House.
Andrzej Duda's visit to the White House was assessed positively by many foreign media. It is impossible to disagree with such an opinion. The American president declared his willingness to work on Polish-American ties with regard to deepening trade relations.
And we've had some tremendous discussions having to do with trade and military and lots of other things, and they continue. Secretary Perry is discussing a very, very big transaction with Poland, one of the biggest. And we're very prepared to go forward with that.
We signed a big extension of a LNG contract. There's massive potential ahead for American LNG, both on the construction side of facilities in Poland and obviously selling the product as well.
Donald Trump also mentioned the still controversial topic of American visas for Poles.
I applaud President Duda for its efforts to strengthen and modernize Poland's defenses. I also want to congratulate Poland for its progress on meeting U.S. criteria for entry into the visa waiver program. Today, our country signed a Preventing and Combating Serious Crimes Agreement, a significant and necessary step for Poland's entry into the program.
The American president organized a special demonstration of F-35 aircrafts over the White House. Representatives of the American media emphasized that such events are extremely rare. Andrzej Duda had a surprise of his own for the US president.
Dear friends, in 2 days, America will celebrate the great anniversary. It will be the day of the anniversary of the day of the birth of the 45th President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald Trump. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you. May all your dreams come true, Mr. President.
As yesterday's visit of the Polish presidential couple to Washington came to an end, all signs pointed to the fact that it had strengthened the Polish-American alliance.
A Polish-American rally to support the alliance between the two countries took place yesterday in front of the White House. The organisers of this rally were the Gazeta Polska clubs and other Polish-American community associations.
My name is Roman Kozem, Federation of Polish Americans. I just want to say thank you for coming to that rally. I want to welcome, people from all over the United States coming and sharing their support with us for the defensive efforts of the United States with cooperation with Poland, making Poland safe. So basically, we want to show that Polonia is united, not divided. There is no divisions, and we support strong American army in Poland in the NATO to defend Poland in case of Russian aggression.
I think it's a major milestone in the history of Poland, our country, and in Polish-American relations. We are coming out completely from under the Soviet influence and we're entering into the North Atlantic zone. In other words, we will finally leave behind the outer agreement and get the increase of American troops on the eastern flank of NATO. This is the condition to begin further actions to go ahead with the Three Seas initiative.
Działać na rzecz dla naszego kraju, na rzecz projektu Trójmorza.
Thomas Arabski, the head of the Chancellery of the Prime Minister in Donald Tusk's government, was today found guilty of negligence by the Warsaw District Court in relation to the organisation of the flight to Smolensk on April the 10th, 2010, which ended in tragedy. The court gave a sentence of 1 month's imprisonment, suspended for 2 years. The Tupolev 154M aircraft crashed while trying to land in foggy weather, killing all 96 on board, including the then President of the Republic of Poland, Lech Kaczynski.
oskarżonego Tomasza Arabskiego w ramach zarzucanego mu czynu.
The court found the accused, Tomasz Arabski, guilty of the act he was accused of, namely that in the period from the 16th of March to the 10th of April 2010, as a public official and the chief of the Chancellery of the Prime Minister, he failed to fulfill his obligations as the coordinator responsible for organizing Polish military and aircraft flights. In accordance with Article 231, paragraph 1 of the Criminal Code, the court condemns the accused and punishes him with 10 months imprisonment. The prosecutor's office applied for a higher fine for Arabski of 1.5 years imprisonment, suspended for 4 years. The prosecutors also demanded other officials to be found guilty. Tomasz Arabski's defense attorney announced his side will appeal. I will recommend my client to appeal because I simply disagree with this verdict and the court's arguments. The court pointed out the role of not only my client, but also other people. The court pointed this out and I agree with that. However, as far as my client is concerned, the judgment is unfair. Stefan Hambura, a representative of some of the victims of the catastrophe, reacted to the court's judgment with mixed feelings. Although I did not like the message sent, it's very good that the accused was punished today, and it is not like in the other cases where only those on lower levels are responsible. Today's verdict brings an end to a 3-year trial in this case, which began in March 2016. The trial was initiated by a private indictment. Some families of the victims of the Smolensk disaster made the indictment after the Warsaw Praga District Prosecutor's Office successfully annulled the investigation into the organization of the Prime Minister's and President's flights to Smolensk on the 7th and 10th of April 2010.
The German city of Görlitz, situated in the southeast of the country, on the border with Poland, is bracing itself to become the first German city to be ruled by a far-right populist mayor from the Alternative for Germany, or AfD party. The AfD's candidate, Sebastian Wippel, won the first-round elections with 36.5% of the votes and has a high chance of winning the runoff on Sunday. Many movie stars and film producers are trying to prevent this and have written an open letter to the people of Görlitz calling for tolerance and an inclusive society.
With its cobbled medieval streets and beautiful architecture, the town of Görlitz looks like the film set it has often been. Concerned that the city's reputation could be tarnished, producer Michael Simon de Normier has written a letter to Görlitzers warning them of the risks associated in having a mayor from the ADF. Other movie stars speaking out against the ADF candidate for mayor include the Game of Thrones actor Tom Blaschicha and Inglourious Basterds actress Jana Palaska. Sebastian Wippel shrugs off the accusations hurled at him by celebrities and says he believes this election is his to win. The support is positive throughout, and I was very happy about the 36.4% in the first round. I didn't necessarily expect that, but it shows that we from the ADF have delivered. We're now a people's party representing all social classes and professional groups, and people are talking to us. I'm delighted that there are lots of doctors, policemen, lawyers and so on among them. Standing in the way of the ADF's candidate is Octavian Ursu from Angela Merkel's CDU party. He's a musician who immigrated from Romania in 1990 to play the trumpet in the local theatre. It isn't just about ADF or CDU. It's about the orientation of this city and its future. Do we want the open society we have in Görlitz, or do we want to shut ourselves away? I think it's about much more. Chancellor Merkel's CDU party has held power in the town for almost 3 decades, and many citizens believe it's enough. We need to walk down a new road, and we see Mr. Wippel as the forerunner, being an administrative officer. The opponent, or let's say the competitor, also went to university and he's a good musician, but he studied music, so a lot of people are asking how he intends to run this city. Other voters argue that Görlitz would lose its reputation as an inclusive city following an ADF win, and that it would make it harder to attract skilled workers. I'm a doctor's assistant, and at the practice where I work there's also a Syrian doctor who said to me that a colleague told him he'd like to move here. But when he heard that there might soon be an ADF mayor here, he said no, not in that case. Ursu was 6 percentage points behind Wippel in the first round, but with the often reluctant backing of people who earlier supported more left-wing candidate, he might still overturn the ADF lead on Sunday.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.
Good evening, I'm Paulina Otterstein and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. It looks like summer has landed for good in Poland. The temperatures tonight will be from 17 degrees in Szczecin, 18 degrees in Zielona Góra and up to 22 degrees in Bydgoszcz. Quite a bit of showers will be appearing tonight. And now let's see what will happen tomorrow during the day. So very nice and warm, and even maybe too warm in some places, up to 32 degrees in Krakow, Katowice, also in Zielona Góra. The minimum temperature tomorrow will be 28 degrees in Gdańsk. Quite a bit of showers will be appearing, also thunderstorms in the northern parts of the country, also around Zielona Góra and Poznań and Warsaw will be seeing 31 degrees tomorrow with a lot of sun. This is all for now. Thank you and see you soon.
Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily Business. I'm Nicholas Richardson. It has been agreed between Poland and the United States that an extra 1,000 United States troops, in addition to the 4,500 currently rotated to Poland as part of the NATO deployment, will be rotated from Germany to Poland. The cost of these troops, including the upgrading of the bases they will use and other facilities, will be borne by Poland. A squadron of unmanned United States Air Force MQ-9 aircraft, used for reconnaissance and scouting purposes, will also be stationed in Poland. And in addition, US President Donald Trump announced that Poland will buy 32 F-35A fighter jets. The aircraft, manufactured by Lockheed Martin, are expected to cost in the region of United States dollars 90 million each. Poland and the United States have signed a memorandum of understanding on civilian nuclear energy cooperation aimed at establishing a long-term program to develop Polish nuclear systems. Also on Wednesday, the Polish oil and gas company, PGNiG, signed an agreement with Venture Global LNG to purchase an additional 1.5 million tonnes of liquefied natural gas per year. Over the years 2022 to 2023, Poland will receive a total of 3.5 million tonnes of LNG each year from the United States. This deal continues the current government's policy to diversify sources of gas and to become less dependent on deliveries from Russia. PGNiG, which is listed on the Warsaw Stock Exchange, is the leader in the Polish natural gas market. That's all from me, but do stay with us for a special programme looking at President Duda's visit to the White House in Washington.
US President Trump pledged to Polish President Duda on Wednesday the 12th that he'll deploy 1,000 US troops to Poland, a step sought by Warsaw to deter political aggression from Russia. Trump announced the troop deployment at a joint news conference with Duda in the White House Rose Garden, shortly after the two leaders signed a joint declaration affirming defense cooperation and watched a US-made F-35 fighter jet fly overhead.
Today we honor the sacrifices of all those who came before by doing our part to safeguard our independence and strengthen the incredible U.S.-Polish alliance. As stated in the joint declaration, the United States and Poland continue to enhance our security cooperation. Poland will still provide basing and infrastructure to support military presence of about 1,000 American troops. The Polish government will build these projects at no cost to the United States. The Polish government will pay for this. We thank President Duda and the people of Poland for their partnership in advancing our common security.
Trump stated that the troop contingent could come from the US force in Germany, that he is accused of paying too little for NATO's common defense.
Well, they're talking about 2,000 troops. But we'd be taking them out of Germany or we'd be moving them from another location. There would be no additional troops to Europe. We'd be moving them from another location. As you know, we have 52,000 troops in Germany. And Germany is not living up to what they're supposed to be doing with respect to NATO. And Poland is. I have to congratulate you. Thank you very much.
President Trump also said he's considering sanctions over Russia's Nord Stream 2 natural gas pipeline project and warned Germany against being dependent on Russia for energy.
I do think that Germany is putting themselves at a tremendous disadvantage when 50, 60, or even 70% of their energy is being supplied by Russia. I don't know how you can do that.
Another important issue for Poland is for the visa requirement to be dropped for Poles traveling to the US. President Trump stated that measures will be taken within 90 days to finalize the issue.
I applaud President Duda for its efforts to strengthen and modernize Poland's defenses. I also want to congratulate Poland for its progress on meeting U.S. criteria for entry into the visa waiver program. Today, our country signed a Preventing and Combating Serious Crimes Agreement, a significant and necessary step for Poland's entry into the program. Though we still have some work to do, we hope to welcome Poland into the visa waiver program very soon, and that's a very big deal.
President Duda stressed the importance of the increase in U.S. troops for all of Central Eastern Europe. One of the agreements I signed personally concerns security and military operation. As you mentioned, sir, there'll be more American troops in Poland. There's going to be an enhanced cooperation. It's going to be an enduring presence that hopefully will increase gradually in terms of the number of troops, but also in terms of infrastructure that's very important. Thank you also for the decision to establish that division headquarters in Poland. This is of huge importance, not only to Poland, but also to our part of Europe, to Central Europe, to the Baltic states, and to all those whom the enhanced forward presence was established of the United States and other NATO states along NATO's eastern flank. I'm deeply grateful for that. Apart from military deals, President Trump stated that new deals have also been signed in relation to LNG sales to Poland.
We've had some tremendous discussions having to do with trade and military and lots of other things, and they continue. Secretary Perry is discussing a very, very big transaction with Poland, one of the biggest, and we're very prepared to go forward with that.
U.S. Energy Secretary Rick Perry underlined that the deal will bring opportunities to U.S. companies active in Poland.
We signed a big extension of a LNG contract. There's massive potential ahead for American LNG, both on the construction side of facilities in Poland and obviously selling the product as well.
Washington and Warsaw also signed an agreement on cooperation in the sphere of nuclear energy, as Poland's age-long ambition to build nuclear power plants finally seems to be coming to fruition.
Good evening, welcome again to Poland Daily Weather. I'm Paulina Otterstein, and let's see the forecast for tomorrow in Poland. So very hot, especially around Zielona Góra, where we will be seeing 32 degrees. Also in Katowice and Krakow we will see 32 degrees, and the minimum temperature tomorrow will be 28 degrees in Gdańsk, but thunderstorms will be appearing there as well, also in Koszalin, Szczecin, Zielona Góra and in Poznań. The rest should remain quite dry, although in Rzeszów and Katowice it might rain a bit as well, and very nice and sunny around Białystok, also in Olsztyn, Bydgoszcz and in the capital of Poland. And now let's see the forecast in Europe for tomorrow. So the coolest place again will be Dublin with 14 degrees and showers as well. Also 16 degrees in Oslo, 20 in Stockholm and Helsinki. So those places will be quite a bit cooler, but very nice and warm around Bratislava, also Warsaw, Berlin, 28 degrees, and a bit cooler in Lisbon with 22 degrees, but Madrid will see 30. This is all for tonight. Thank you and see you again tomorrow. Welcome to Poland Daily Culture. I'm Paulina Otterstein, and my guest today is William Richardson. Hello, William.
You can call me Will. Hello.
I prefer William, I think. Even though you call yourself Will, I prefer William. It's such a nice name.
No, thank you.
Why use the shortcut?
Will I am. You know, once upon a time I thought, hey, my name is Will I am. I should use that. And then I realized there was a very famous singer.
Rapper, singer, yeah.
From the Black Eyed Peas, who'd already done that, so, you know. Well, I had the gratification that somebody also thought that was a good idea, but then I realized somebody else had already done it. And I didn't know.
So
I was like 10 years
one.
behind the, you know.
So, William,
yes, that is my name.
You
Yeah.
came from the States and you moved to Poland, and why did you decide to move here?
I didn't come from the States, although legend has it that I was born in a log cabin. And my father was an itinerant peddler of tin pots. But it's not true. It is not true. I actually came, I went from the United States to Great Britain.
Okay, and then from Great Britain you traveled to Poland?
Eventually, yeah. I was at university in Great Britain, and I started working. I thought, you know, I would try my hand at journalism, and it took a little while, and I worked in the theater there, and journalism, and you know, just trying to find some way to, you know, get paid for some talents I might have, and then I began getting published and stuff, and worked on various places, papers on Fleet Street. So it was an interesting time. Yeah.
But why the idea to come to Warsaw?
I got on the wrong plane. No, that's not true. Although that did happen. A friend of mine did get on the wrong plane.
To Warsaw?
Yeah. He was supposed to go to, I think, North Africa, and some reason. I guess
He's in Poland.
Yeah, the flights were like, you go down the corridors. Oh, let's see, Tripoli, you know, Tangier, Warsaw. You know, it's like all the exotic places. You know, because it was very exotic back in the early '90s to come to Poland. So the early people coming here were something of pioneers. After suddenly the Iron Curtain, so-called, was gone. And I came over here to write a travel story for a magazine in London, and to see what else I might do, but also for the excitement to have a look around at what communism does to people, you know, and how, you know, because we had the stories growing up how scary it was, you know, and to see just how scary it was pretty scary. Yeah, but it also fascinating.
What year was that?
The first time I came was in 1989, and I was here when the Berlin Wall came down. Okay. Just by luck, I was on the border, because I went with a friend that I'd met I was teaching part-time at a school for English language. And I met this fellow there, and met more. It was Polish and a few other Poles, and I said, "Gosh, this sounds like an interesting place." They said, "Come on and visit." So I was with him and his family on the German border in a place called Zgorzelec, which is Zgorzelec, and Gorlitz is the German side, and at that stage family was doing a lot of business there. So we watched on television with their German business partners and them on the Polish-German border as the wall came down. So it was the perfect place. Totally random, totally by luck, actually, that I was there at that time. But I was, and that was, when people ask you where you were when the wall came down, I have a good story, I think, you know.
So how do you think the bigger...
And then I kept coming back because I had friends. That was.
And when did you move?
I came to Warsaw in '93, and I still was going a bit
so
back and forth.
So 4 years after the communism ended.
Yeah, and I was there pretty much full time from '94 on. Yeah, I was I got involved doing a film. I ran a film screenplay contest. I was involved in the film business then, and still writing a lot. I was writing for Variety and Billboard, and a paper that now no longer exists called The European. I would write features in the Times and the Independent and the Guardian on all kinds of subjects. You know, I wrote about sports and witches and surfing and politics. And what else? Ecology, you know, anything I could get published, you know. It was a good time. Yeah.
We will come back to that, but how do you think people abroad, what was their perception on Poland, like in England or in the States still during the communism?
What was their...
how did they...
During communism? You mean in the 80s or something? Well, I mean, the perception stayed pretty much the same through into the 90s, actually, that this is a rather deprived and rather gray place with, you know, very cold and very dark, and sort of, for some reason, they had this idea that all the women were kind of babushka types, you know, which was totally to the contrary from my recollection.
You must have been quite surprised when you came.
Well, I didn't have that view because I already knew some very nice Polish ladies in London and people of Polish background, you know. But there's just the idea that communism was perceived as this big wall of, you know, excrement, towering over the people. And in some way that was true. But not, you know, the thing you noticed on being here was how colorless everything was. There being no advertisements, reklama, as you say in Polish.
No, there's too much of that.
Now, there's, yeah, that's the way things go. You don't have anything, then it goes too far the other way. Then you have to bring it back if you can. I don't know if we will bring these things back. You know, the thing that was funny about it, and also, of course, the Russian threat was perceived as, you know, there could be nuclear war at any time. When I was a kid, you know, we always thought, you know, nuclear war, AIDS, and things like this, you know, there were a lot of threats out there. We thought we were going to be wiped out at any moment, you know. There was a much more, it's interesting that at that time there was a much more apocalyptic feeling day by day, partly justified in a sense because nuclear war could happen, and it almost did several times, the 60s and 70s and 80s. There were occasions. But we should have, I think, much more of a sense of that now than we did then, because it seems much more likely that something really awful is going to happen now. Because also back then, it was black and white, you see. There's them and us. It was like, and Ronald Reagan was the perfect cowboy, former cowboy actor to be in charge, because it was like a movie, you know. And we all know that there's a huge amount of shades of gray now compared to our perception back then.
Of course.
But in the early days in Poland, if you want to know what that was like, it was, we used to call it the Wild, Wild East, and it was a bit like that. There was a lot of opportunity, but also a huge amount of bureaucracy to try and make things. So it was a constant fight. There were opportunities, but also, you know, the 90s were a tough time. The 2000s began to be much easier to do things.
And so many things changed in those
Everything
20
changed.
few years, right?
Everything changed, particularly in the last 20 years. Everything changed, you know. It was like this. The infrastructure was non-existent here. I mean, the roads had ridges in them and things like that. They would melt in the sun and be destroyed by the salt and the ice in the winter. And the roads were just just crazy. The consistency of the tarmac was it was like some kind of I don't know how to describe it, but it was not like a road that you'd ever seen before. You had to be very careful to stay in those grooves when you were driving, not to go off the road. But and the driving habits were very odd. It was like, you know, a Death Race 2000, you know, on the road. It really was, and you had to watch it, be careful. But now, in the last 20 years, particularly, I would say, the infrastructure has been had to be built, so it was all new. So that now the infrastructure in Poland is a lot better than a lot of the infrastructure in the United States or in Great Britain, which is crazy because when you think about, you go from zero to first rate in a lot of things. And go and look at the superhighways in Poland, they're amazing. And you know, the internet service and all these kind of things.
The one we took to Białystok
service.
was especially nice.
The one we took to Białystok is very nice, brand new. Yeah. And so Poland is incredibly nice nowadays. Yeah? And pretty soon we'll have a skyline, the most skyscrapers in Europe. And this is a huge departure.
Accomplishment.
Yeah, and accomplishment. Yeah, well, that's part of what we're talking about and doing our series of programs.
The rich history of this place owes much to its geographical location. Located in the borderlands, the gateway from the Carpathian Mountains to the lowland plains, on the navigable Sand River, which of course created great trade opportunities. And that is why this town, Przemyśl, grew up. I'm standing here in the market square in Przemyśl at the beginning of our journey, a journey through history which takes us from the end of the Roman Empire to the end of the Second World War, a rich history of people, of buildings, of institutions. Join me on Poland Daily History as we see Przemyśl above ground and below ground. We're here in the crypt of the cathedral here in Przemyśl, or to give it its proper name, the Cathedral Basilica of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary and St. John the Baptist. And I'm joined by Father Marek Wojciechowski, who's the director of the Archdiocesan Museum. Thank you for joining us, Father Marek. Now, I think I'm right in saying that the Church, or Christianity at least, first came to this region in about the 9th century.
Yeah, it could be possible, but the first churches which we can find in this town are from 11th centuries.
Okay, and I think I'm right in saying the first church was in fact a wooden church.
First cathedral church in Przemyśl perhaps was wooden church, St. Peter's Church, but we didn't know before that under the Gothic cathedral we have Romanesque remains of Rotunda of St. Nicholas. And it could be Rotunda of St. Nicholas or Church of St. Peter, the first cathedral in Przemyśl.
Right. And when was just looking before you actually talk into the detail about the buildings, when was the Diocese of Przemyśl first established?
The diocese was established in 1340, but the first bishop who came here to Przemyśl was Eric from Vincent. It was about 1376-77. And we have an information that in 1375 our diocese was joined to Halicz Metropoly, and it is the first correct information about our diocese.
And how extensive is the diocese in terms of geographical reach?
Today, it is 1/3 of the original diocese. Today, our diocese is in the Bieszczady mountain region, near to Krosno, Rzeszów, and Leżajsk. It's the southeast part of Poland.
Yes.
And in the past, it was much larger because it was to Vistula River and to San River and near to Lvov in Ukraine, to Dniestr.
Oh, right, okay, so that's actually quite a large area. I mean, I think that just comparing it with England, I mean, some of the dioceses in England used to be much larger. For example, the Diocese of Lincoln, which is part of the world I know quite well, used to stretch from the River Humber to the River Thames, which, if you know a map of England, is quite large. So I think it is obviously the case that in history the boundaries of dioceses changed. And of course it's very interesting because we're sitting here today, of course, in the crypt, and we can hear in the background, which our viewers probably can't hear, that the diocese is a very exciting day for the diocese today because you're ordaining some new priests, so that's very exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting and very important day for diocese. Today will be ordained 8 new priests for our diocese.
That's fantastic, and we were just here earlier, which the viewers won't see, but when they were getting ready, and that's very exciting. And in terms of looking at the diocese and the history of the diocese, what have been some of the great events or notable historic events that have been particular to this diocese?
It's hard to say which was very important. We have many different events and histories about our diocese which are important. Maybe it could be that the next rebuilding of our cathedral, it could be interesting for someone, I think.
Yes, well, we'll get on to the actual buildings in a moment. And in terms of looking at sort of Poland as a whole, which of course with the, obviously over the years as borders change, of kings go and things happen. I mean, is Przemysl one of the earliest established dioceses in Poland?
Yeah, and it still exists. Today we have, I think, 64 or 66 bishops of Przemysl living here and
leading the diocese. Yes,
yeah.
yes, really, excellent, excellent. And I think this is, people often underestimate this. I think that they think of the church obviously as an institution where they go and pray, and which plays a major part in their daily lives, but also there's a great history, isn't there, with the diocese and with the bishops and the clergy who are part of it in terms of relating, you know, this living tradition from the very first cathedral, the very first bishop, to the present day. And I think that's one of the exciting things about history, when you have these institutions like the church and this sort of living, this living institution that connects people, if they take the trouble to think about it, of course, with the past.
This tradition is still alive because every bishop, every new bishop of Przemyśl, when is his ingress.
When he becomes installed as bishop, yes.
Yeah, he begins his lead in a diocese in a Franciscan church in Przemyśl, and next procession goes to cathedral, and it is a solemn mass, inauguration of leading of diocese. It's for memory about our first bishop, who was a Franciscan.
Ah, right. That's interesting, isn't it? Because the link with the Franciscans is sort of rather oblique link, because the current pope, of course, has taken the name of Francis, and I think he's the first pope to have taken the name of Francis. And I can remember years ago going to Assisi, and of course we've got the great Basilica to St. Francis there. And so it's interesting that you have these historical links. Father Marek, as you said, Przemysl is one of the earliest and therefore longest established dioceses in Poland. I mean, and obviously seen, I think you said 60 bishops since it's...
More than 60 bishops.
More than 60. I wonder if you can cast your, well, not cast your mind back, but sort of dig into your memory in a sense, and And think, of any of these 60 bishops, have any been particularly interesting characters or even notorious characters, or have any done exciting things, either or led rebellions against foreign powers, or written works of great theological value, or created great buildings?
Yeah, I can tell about Alexander Antoni Fredro, our bishop in 1724 to 1734, which rebuilt our cathedral.
Yeah.
But this rebuilding was unfortunately bad, because after it, this vault of cathedral collapsed.
Ah, right, the roof collapsed.
The roof collapsed and destroyed all the nave of cathedral. Bishop often travel to Rome, to Italy, and bring to Przemyśl lots of paintings and decorating things to this cathedral. Some of this we still have in our museum, and lots of these things was destroyed during this catastrophe.
When you build buildings and restore buildings, you have, of course, some sort of disaster which takes you back. And one thinks, of course, not a Polish matter, but obviously it's the church, so it's universal. The irony of in Notre Dame in Paris, of course, where it's the work to restore the building led to this fire which has destroyed the roof. And we hope no doubt that'll be rebuilt. But
I can also speak about another bishop.
Yes, please do.
Who is a saint. It is a Saint Józef Sebastian Pelchar, which was from 1900 to 1924,
right.
Our bishop. And he established our museum also, and
good.
rebuilt next time a cathedral in neo-Gothic style. It was very important bishop for our diocese and also for whole of Poland. His leads begins in period of partition of Poland, and during the First World War, and after it to 1924. It was very hard time and very interesting. I think so. He also do lots of things in Przemyśl, in our diocese.
Okay. Have any of the bishops of Przemyśl gone on to do anything in the church internationally? Have any gone on to Rome and achieved high office in the church?
Some of them, not of bishops, from our priests, became after cardinals, like Cardinal Puzyna from Kraków. He was the first, our canon here in Przemyśl.
Ah, right. So that he have got a good theological training in Przemyśl, which sort of set him up to be able to achieve great things in the church.
Another important person who was born near Przemyśl in Krasiczen was Cardinal Adam Sapieha, Adam Prince of Sapieha.
Ah, right, okay. Just going back to Cardinal Pusin, he achieved some quite remarkable things as well.
Yeah, because he started a restoration of our cathedral in 1887. Another person who was very important in Polish history was Ignacy Krasicki, who was born also near Przemyśl in Dubiecko, and the first was our priest, and the next was a bishop in Warmia and a primat of Poland in 18th century.
Right. Okay. So this diocese has produced some quite a number of notable figures.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another edition of Poland Daily Travel. My name's Will Richardson, and this time we'll be taking you on a series of episodes exploring the Warsaw Zoo. It's a peaceful reserve located on the eastern bank of the Vistula River in Warsaw. So come along with us and let's visit the Warsaw Zoo.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next fantastic, more unbelievable than ever edition of Poland Daily Travel. We are, you may hear, listen, you can hear strange bird calls. There'll be a lot of noises today because we're at the Warsaw Zoo. That's right. And behind me is the Żabinski Villa. Now, this may ring a bell with you if you're an ardent moviegoer. If you like to see the movies, because there was a book called The Zookeeper's Wife, and it was also made into a film starring Jessica Chastain, and that came out a few years ago. I'd like to bring on and introduce my friend, our associate producer for these segments, and that's Arthur, right here. Arthur, come here. We'll stand behind me.
Hello, Will.
The Żabinski Villa.
Correct.
This is an important place because serious things happened here during the war, didn't they? As we know from the film. Yeah.
Serious things started to occur in here even before the war, when Jan Żabinski started to run the zoo in 1937. That was the first place in Poland where we had a birth of elephant in here. So the zoo started to bloom, the zoo started to be an important place in general in Warsaw, Poland. But yes, then when World War II started, this place was bombed, literally bombed and shot with rockets in September.
Yeah, they killed a lot of the animals too. I mean,
they did.
Brutality not only to people, but to animals. I mean, why would you do this? It's sort of ridiculous to contemplate, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's the height of absurdity.
Jan Żabinski was 100% involved in running the zoo, but at some point Antonina, his wife, Żabinska, started to be involved in helping the Jews. They were protecting these families by keeping them in a basement.
Not just a few. They saved up to 300 or so.
Altogether.
Some very large number of people.
That was the result.
So they would hide them in the basement?
Correct.
It's incredible, isn't it? So amidst this destruction of their livelihood, they still found, obviously, people who like to care, not only for wildlife, but for human beings too.
Exactly, that's why Diane Ackerman, she wrote her non-fiction biography in 2007, and then the movie was released, the one that you just told about.
The Zookeeper's Wife, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Jan Żabinski, so the zookeeper himself, was badly injured in Warsaw Uprising 1944. But then after the war, once again, he started to run the zoo, so to retrieve this part of our Polish heritage. There are many interesting facts about the way how the Jewish families were protected. For instance, when Nazi German soldiers were coming to see the villa, to come inside, then Antonina Żabinski, he was playing piano. That was her hobby. She was a pianist. She was playing the wife, the zookeeper's wife.
Yeah.
Exactly. When she was playing particular masterpiece on piano, then this is when all the families were escaping through a special canal in the basement to the cage of the parrots, which till nowadays is right in here. And today we can see the villa, today we can see the canal, today we can take a look at the cages of the parrots.
Are we going to go inside and look at it?
Yes, we are going to walk inside, and that would be so important to know that the villa till nowadays exists, that the zoo operates till nowadays, and once again this place is coming back on a track, and once again it's more important, and beautiful sightseeing spot in the city center of Warsaw. Can you see these animals? Can you hear them? It's amazing.
Yeah, they're right over there. We're gonna. It's actually a very big zoo complex, but we're gonna go and we're gonna talk about the villa some more, and then we're gonna walk around and show you in a series of episodes what the zoo is like and what you'll see when you come here. So we're gonna talk a lot more about the zoo itself and what happens here. But right now, I think that we should say, stay with us. Poland Daily Travel with me, with Arthur. We'll be back with more from the villa, where the zookeeper's wife was shot, and more stories about that. Stay with us. Hello, and welcome back to Poland Daily Travel. All right, now we're going to show you something very, very interesting. Let's just walk this way. We're coming around to the side of the house, and we mentioned the escape route for the people, the Jewish people who were hidden in the basement here. It features in the film and in the book, of course. And this is the actual tunnel. So people would come out of this house and into this tunnel on their way out, and there were at least 300 people, reportedly, that were, that's what they say.
Altogether,
yeah.
300 people were saved. And those who managed to escape from Warsaw Ghetto and during Warsaw Ghetto uprising were hidden in these basements, and so to survive, pretty frequently they had to go there and back, so not to be found by Nazi German troops.
Because when they came to search the house,
yes,
they would go into this tunnel and go over here.
Yes, so it was not like one way
right.
Escape idea,
right.
But it was pretty frequently used from the house to the parrot cage, and so that the tunnel was longer. And now this section, thanks to this, we can see the actual tunnel. There wasn't a hole in here. It was a little bit further away.
Mm-hmm.
And
this hole has been made just to show the tunnel.
Just to have the possibility. Yes, exactly. They didn't walk out in here. They were walking out a little bit further.
You're having to sort of crawl. This is not a tunnel you can just walk.
No, that was the tough way. That was a nasty one. That was a very difficult one.